Welcome, everyone. We've got an amazing event planned for you today. We are celebrating 70 years of the Fender Stratocaster. Let's make some noise for the Fender Stratocaster. You're gonna see some amazing performances today spanning the sounds and eras of the Strat, curated by two of the coolest working artists in the biz today. You know her from playing with SZA, Lizzo, Beyonce, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Ari O'Neal. And now coming to the stage, of course, you know him from playing with Kendrick Lamar, Dr. Dre, Eminem, and of course, many, many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Freaky Rob Gueringer. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for doing this. When a call comes in and you guys hear like Guitar Center is like, we want to celebrate 70 years of the Stratocaster. We want you guys to like put together a Strat-centric performance. What's the first thing that goes through your mind?
I was nervous. Me personally, like when you think about the Stratocaster, it's such an iconic piece of gear. Like it literally created a sound that we had never heard of before. So I was definitely honored, but also nervous at the same time, just a little bit, because it's such a heavy honor and duty, you know?
How about you, Ari?
Same. I was very, very nervous because that's a big ask, like showcasing all of what Strat can do. And it's like, damn, do we have time for all that? But also like being able to play next to, somebody who makes that thing sing and being witness of people who really showcase it for all that it is a big order, but I'm glad that, we get to do it together.
How do you guys deal with that? It's sort of like having an assignment. It's sort of like, okay, here's your creative assignment, maybe an inarticulate assignment into like a musical reality where you go, hey, cram 70 years worth of Stratocaster sounds into 4 songs and let's see what you can come up with. How do you approach that creatively?
I mean, this time, like, it was really cool, like when we got to the studio, just listening to just some amazing Strat players and then be like, okay, like they obviously killed that. So how do we do this and, show them some kind of honor in what they did just through all the years, whether it's Nile Rodgers or Stevie Ray Vaughan, like just listening to those people kind of helped out with this.
Where do you take some of your influences from? Like you just mentioned a few names, but who are some of the most important Strat players for you two?
For me personally, it would be Jimi Hendrix for sure. Not to be typical, but come on, it's fucking Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix, Ernie Isley, Prince. A lot of people don't know, but Prince was a Strat player. David Gilmour, Eric Clapton. Like the list literally goes on. Like you got Tom Morello, who came with a whole different style of Strat,
And so you put together a band. Let's meet everybody, and then let's understand why you put together this team.
I'm gonna tell you the why now. These are the Avengers. These are literally
They're
my
so
guys.
good. They're so good.
If I'm willing to do anything in the world with these guys.
Nice.
Like Super Bowl, whatever. But on drums is my big brother. This is Tony Rico Nichols. I've been knowing him forever, before I even got good at guitar. I wanted to be a drummer. I play drums as well, so that's how me and him got really cool. We moved out here together. We've been out here like 10 years together, so it's been cool. This is my other brother, O'Neal, right here, O'Neal Palmer. He is one of the greatest. He literally has his own sound package in Logic, in the DAW, like he's crazy. And then that's our youngest addition, little bro, Simba Scott, who's also an amazing bass player. He's a programmer, also an MD as well. So like these guys all really get the overall big picture and playing together with a band.
Nice. Give it up for the band. Everybody make some noise.
Yeah.
When you guys get together and start working on this, how does it all come together?
I already explained it a little bit. Like, honestly, we just put on a bunch of retro records, even some new and modern records, but the main thing is the Strat, right? So we're going for like those Stratty records. And she came in with some awesome references. I had some. And then these guys, with their proper knowledge, we all just kind of sat down, and I feel like we put together songs that not only honored the Strat, but it's like they literally feel like Strat songs. Like you would play nothing but a Strat on this, right?
We're going to get to lots of awesome music, but before we do that, let's do a little bit of the gear understanding. What will we be hearing your guitars through today, Rob?
So today I am going through my Head Rush Prime, which you can buy at Guitar Center. And why I picked this pedal is because, like, in the studio, I tend to go all analog, meaning like single pedals one by one, but playing live, which I'm pretty sure you can attest to, those single pedals can become a headache, like pedals becoming unplugged and like you get in the loss of a signal chain somewhere, and it's all because this one little cable wasn't plugged in on the end. I just feel like processors are the way because they make our job so much easier. And this is touchscreen, so I can literally just move whatever around, dial it in, super cool. Yeah, I'll be playing that. You'll be hearing it direct left and right through the house from the XLR inputs, and I'm also going through a Fender Twin, but this is just for my own personal monitoring. Yep.
And you like to have that feel of the amp on stage?
On stage, like if I was in an arena setting, this would really be a Marshall stack. So I'm like...
Nice. And how about you, Ari?
I'm using a Kemper. I just started using this last year because the shows that we're doing in arenas and stuff, they really need a quiet stage. And I had been using other stuff before, but I always had like amps and stuff. And one of our sound guys came up to me and was like, well, why don't you try a Kemper? And I'm down for whatever. So I was like, well, shit, bring it. And I had some amazing people like Eric Walls and Chris Payton come and really dial me in, and I've been going crazy with it. And I love it because it's just so clean. And then it's literally just this. I'm going direct as well, XLRs, left and right. I mean, sound guys, they love me because they're going to get this clean sound. He already told me today. But yeah, I just like the cleanliness of it and not having too much to deal with.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, so what's the first song that we're going to hear today? Did you guys name the songs?
No, we didn't. We just kind of, because it was hard to name them. It was already hard to not just play these iconic Strat songs that we want to play. So I think the first song is going to kind of mimic, it's got a Hendrix vibe, but we're also going to be bringing in some other cool elements that started to become introduced around the late 60s, early 70s, you know. So I like to call this probably like some cool type of like retro funk meets Hendrix, meets like
little psychedelic
early like,
stuff.
psychedelic light rock, you know. It's super cool.
And which guitars did you select for this song?
Oh, I won 69, of course. Of course.
So tell everybody about your 69 Strat.
The 69 Strat is iconic to me because this is the Jimi Hendrix Strat. That white one that he's always seen with, or like the black one, they pretty much are all between 68 and 1970. Hendrix was one of the first Strat players to kind of discover the weird position 2 and 4 on the Strat. A Strat typically, when they first put them out in production, it was just 3 positions: your neck position, your middle, and your bridge. Jimmy found out you could play in between like 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Those positions are called 2 and 4. So you'll hear me play his regular iconic Strat tone, which is the neck, but then you're also going to hear me kick in those weird kind of funky tones that he found in positions 2 and 4.
Very cool. And then Ari, which is your Strat for this song?
It's player 2, yeah. Sometimes I feel like, depending on the gear that you're using or the guitar that you have, like when you really want something heavy, because I'm going to be playing like a lot of lower stuff, like sometimes, you know, it can be a little buzz, sound like a little bee. With this, it's just heavy, and I like that. I don't have to play too hard or play too much. It's present, and I like that.
All right, I think we should get into it. What do you guys say? give it up one more time. That was a great song. Well, I think you guys nailed it in terms of hitting that Hendrix vibe. High energy, great way to start off the day, I'll tell you that much. When you guys are putting that together and you're dialing in the tones, like that with that intro riff, can we hear that on its own and just hear a little bit of that?
So I'm for the intro riff, I'm pretty much just doing like what I would consider like a typical Hendrix clean sound. You know, it's a little dirty, but it's still clean, you know.
It sounds awesome. What's the modeling going on in there?
Right now, the way I run my head rush is I use an internal amp and cab simulator in my chain. And those typically go at the end of the chain so that everything else coming through it just sounds that much more beefier, you know? Nice. I'm just kind of using like what would be head rushes, somewhat knockoff version of like a Marshall stack head, but I have it dialed back. I don't have it breaking up so early. You know what I mean? So that's why I still got a primarily like clean tone. It's not really crunchy, you know?
And then Ari, you came in with the leads at the start. So let's hear those.
Yeah, just doing little stuff, trying to, you know, be there, but not too much in his way. So,
sick.
You know, just trying to like be there, but not, not do too much.
And so for all the nerds out there, how are we achieving that tone? What's in there?
Same, I have like a little like fake like Marshall amp in here, and I have a cab in here as well. Kemper does a really, really good job of mimicking these amps. Like, it's actually insane how many amps they have in here, and definitely stolen a lot from some of my favorite guitar players. Shout out to my tech Aaron for giving me all that shit. But yeah, they have some crazy Marshall amps in here, and
Nice.
yeah, that's what I'm using.
That's cool. And then later on, Rob, you go to this like crazy fuzzy tone.
Yeah.
What was happening for that one?
We all know Jimmy used the fuzz face, and Head Rush in this new update really just came out with a super cool fuzz face that I love. I think it's called the R&D fuzz, but it stands for round. I have it like 12 o'clock on everything. Just like, you know, your typical fuzz tone, everything is at 50%. You know?
Yeah, it's awesome. And especially up on those higher notes.
Oh, yeah. It's really cool. And then I just like how accurate it is, too. Because a lot of the fuzz tones I hear in different pedals, they don't really give me what he was getting from his fuzz, you know? I think it was a Dallas Orbiter or something, maybe like that, but this is the closest that I've been able to get to it in a while.
And then there's a cool bridge, too. Can we talk a little bit about the arrangement of the tune overall?
I mean, shit, it was really just us being in the studio and just Rob kind of leading this one. And, you know, we were literally just listening to the song. That's okay, how can we make it as close as we can to this? And that's just what we all kind of...
Literally, because I didn't want to take I didn't want to just, you know, be over talking to her about it, but that's literally what it was. It was just a vibe. You know, we just was like, okay, it feels like Hendrix would do this right here.
Exactly.
Or if we're playing in the 60s era, I think we could do this right here. You know, just kind of how to make it all merge together, but still, you know, pay homage to what we're doing, you know?
Because when I heard it turn, I was like, let's go. I want to go for this ride too. And it came right back around. It was awesome. So I want to go back all the way to the beginning for you two, when music started. So like, was there a moment or was there a time where you were like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play music. I'm going to do this. And what did that look like for you each?
I think for me personally, it was my grandfather. My grandfather was the first person to put me around music, like physical music instruments. He played guitar and bass, but he had a drum set. And that's what I started on. I didn't pick up a guitar until I was 13 or 14. I really didn't expect to really even be where I am with a guitar. I thought I would be. That's why I used to get on his nerves all the time, because I used to always want to play drums with him, you know? But I think it's cool just to see how it all evolved, you know?
That's cool. How about you, Ari?
It started with my grandmother actually playing, but music has always been like big in my family. Like my parents introduced me to some crazy music. Like, we weren't listening to the radio. We were listening to, like, Stevie Wonder and Average White Band. And I thought I was going to be playing cello because my grandmother would listen to classical music. She could sing. She could play piano. She was a choir director. And, yeah, they didn't have that at Music and Arts Center. So I ended up picking up a guitar because my older sister was doing it, and I just kept doing it. Also because I love that song, Pick Up the Pieces, so much because it's like the guitar does not move. And I'm like, that's the best part of the song to me. Like, it's just there, and no matter where they went with it, it just sounded so good all the time, and I wanted to do that.
That's awesome. And so is there a point where it turns for you where you're like, okay, I like playing music, I want to play and sound like these influences, but you take a turn and you go, okay, I'm a musician. I've defined myself as a musician now. Was there a time that was like a set in stone for you, or has it just sort of evolved?
Like, you mean like
deciding, this is my life. I'm a musician now. I'm dedicating everything to this.
Oh, I was bad at everything else, so. Oh my God, job interviews, school, school I was good, but job interviews, any kind of interview, working, showing up at 9 o'clock in the morning, like, how do y'all, yeah, I couldn't do it. Could not. So I was like, yeah, I gotta make this work, or, I'm gonna be living with mom and dad for a long time.
Oh man, how about you, Rob?
It's kind of always been my life. I used to get in trouble for beating on desks with pens and like drumsticks at school, and I just remember when I got to middle school, like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, they had this jazz band, and it was crazy. But you had to like audition to qualify to even be able to play. When I came around, it didn't have a bass or a guitar. They were like, the bass parts of the songs were being played by a kid that was playing like key bass, And so when I came with a bass and guitar, it was new for them as well. So I feel like that kind of helped me to mold myself to be able to play the way that I do now, because it was all kind of by ear, you know what I mean? And I think from that moment, I was like, well, hell, I'm not turning back to nothing else. I didn't learn how to play. I know my regular chords. I know all my notes now. So I'm like, why not just, take it and run with it?
And can you remember a moment where you sort of became aware of, like, the Stratocaster? It's such an icon. Was there a moment that you can remember in your musical journey, or even before that you just became aware of the Strat itself?
Well, me personally, it was the first guitar I ever got. I mean, I didn't have one of these, of course, but I had a Squire. I had a Squire Bullet. That was like the first guitar my parents bought me. The Strat was kind of all I knew.
Mine was a Squire too when I first transitioned to playing electric, because I started on acoustic at first, but I got these baby hands, so my wrist was burning. I said, something got to change. So yeah, my guitar teacher ended up suggesting a Squire, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do this.
We're gonna do another tune, and we're gonna switch guitars for that one. Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch guitars, and then we'll get into what's gonna happen with the next song. A lot of songs, at least in my experience, they might go through a time before they have a name, where they're like, the one with the ba-bump, ba-bump, or the whatever. Have you had songs like that before?
I got brothers like that. One of them ain't have a name for 2 weeks when he got out the hospital. He was like, oh, that one.
Oh, yeah, man. Songs go through hell. They change names. They change formats.
Yeah.
They change keys.
All right, so this song, too, what's the vibe? What's the musical reference? What are we going to see in this one?
We're going to see this superstar shine. She is going to be Ernie Isley for you guys today. Can we give her a hand? Literally. So this next tune, I really wanted to, she came in and she was already on like the Ernie vibe, but she does it so well. And I just kind of thought to them, like, I don't know how, but I feel like we should just really play something that highlights that vibe, but also show how we kind of also wanted to show how we use Strats in modern R&B too.
Yeah.
So this song will kind of flip towards the back end, and it'll go like, you'll hear some hip hop elements, some drum triggers coming from Rico, some cool sounds coming from O'Neal. But we just kind of wanted to show like some of the progression of how the R&B is moved.
That's really cool. And so what are the select instruments for this track?
I decided to use my mod shop, HSH humbucker, single humbucker, because even in the early R&B, they would use Gibson's humbucker guitars, but I still feel like you get more bang for your buck because what you have in this middle pickup, and again, the 5-way switching, I have literally 5 tones, 6 tones on command with this guitar because my humbucker in the bridge position, it also splits as well. Nice. So this guitar is just a bunch of cheat codes.
And Ari, how about you? That's a Comet Burst, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I just like how bright it sounds. You know, a lot of my favorite people who are playing R&B, they just have like this really like grown, like really warm sound. And I feel like this really gives me that kind of tone for this.
Very cool. So let's get into it. Let's hear our Isley style.
Let's do it.
do one more round of applause for that song. All right. I mean, talk about nailing the vibe. Let's start off with just the intro. The intro is like this cute little thing with some modulation on it. Yep. Can we hear that? It's awesome. so what is the signal chain for that?
Straight Ernie. This is literally a phaser. For this song, the only thing I had up in queue as far as for the Ernie part of the song was just a light phaser to kind of highlight what she was doing, because even in the records, the solo tone that we love is usually a uni or a phaser, but even in his clean guitar tone, he still had a light little phase on there as well. So even though I was just comping and backing up Ari, I still had that modulation.
That's really
and
cool.
that tone too.
And then Ari came in with the lead, and it sounds so good. So can we just hear that isolated? Yeah, putting those two together has like that sort of like dreamy, vibey kind of thing. It's really, really nice. When you take that solo, that's where it really it clicks in, and you're like, oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah, just add a little bit of phaser on it to get that, Ernie sound. Like, he's just so, it's so like, Ernie, so I'm just trying to do my best to, get a little Isley in there.
I'm curious, like when you're dialing in the tones, once it's giving it back to you, does it sort of change the way you play a little bit?
Yes, I'm a grown man up here right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, for sure. Because, I mean, like, for me, tone makes it or it breaks it, literally. Like, you could be one turn of a knob away from excellence or hell with me, preferably. Like, I will literally, depending on the setting, I will come up, and I know it's not preferred, but I will come up myself and just start touching.
Yes.
Like, other people, like, no, because it's like, you're right there, but it needs this, like,
Yeah.
And I think that's what was cool with her. She's really, like, I can't really take any credit for what's going on with her sound. Like, she picked her own sounds, the selection, like, it's incredible. Like, pays a lot of attention to detail. This was fun to do, for sure.
That brings up the idea, like when you go to shows, are you checking, every time I'm at a show, I'm like, what's that? What are they stepping on? What's happening up there?
Story of my life. Can never enjoy a show. I'm in the back like, turn the damn kick drum up, or bring the vocals down, or bring them up. Like, I never can just enjoy the show. I try, but it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard.
That speaks to producing as well, because you're so used to setting everything the way it should be.
Most definitely. I'm spoiled. I think that's what it is.
You did call this out in advance, and it was really nice. When the song takes a turn, it all of a sudden becomes this like very modern thing, and it was like this really cool vibe. But then the sort of like etherealness of the guitar in the front half turned into your lead part with this really sturdy rhythm section underneath it, and it was really, really nice.
These guys are great. I told you, these guys are great.
And so when you're feeling that deep groove, and then you're just like, well, let me put something really light on this. But you had the pitch shifter in there too. So how did that sound sort of come together?
The second part of the song was supposed to kind of like emulate modern R&B or like hip hop, but a lot of times people tend to like play guitar out of that, and now it's kind of made its way right back to the forefront, just with having little things like shimmers and pitch shifters and cool delays and reverse things, and I feel like that's most of the tone. A lot of the tones we hear on those urban/pop songs are guitars. Even some of the synth sounds is like those are guitars, you know. And I just wanted to kind of show how I use it in my own way, you know.
Well, let's get that isolated because it's awesome.
Yeah. So this was just like the chordy tone. That's like a shimmer, pretty much. I use this when I want my guitar to act as like a pad, you know what I mean? And then, of course, you got the wham. And so pretty much what a wham does is just, it shifts the pitch, and you can control which way you want it to shift. So for this song, I shift it up 12 tones, that's an octave. But I also have one where I can shift down, and that one sounds like this. And that's probably one of my favorite effects to use. I had to, especially like doing gigs like Kendrick Lamar, me and that wham had to become best friends. Because it was like a lot of the parts that I was playing on the gig aren't real guitar parts. It's not, that music isn't guitar heavy. So I kind of had to find a way to like make myself be needed in a sense, you know?
Yeah. And for sort of modern sessions or modern gigs like that, the guitar is more of like the interface to a sound than it is like sounding like a guitar. So what's your approach when you're like, okay, I got to mimic something else, but the way I get to it is through the guitar?
Well, for me personally, I think when I'm picking parts or what to play, I go off of like what's happening around me. So I know if guitar is not in the record, they got first dibs. Like he has first dibs to whatever he wants to play. So if O'Neal is playing the cool pad and the arpeggiated part, even if my part is just, I gotta do that. Cause there's no guitar in there. So I gotta let him have the cool stuff. But sometimes they may become overwhelmed like, yo, can you play that lead line? Like, but make it feel like a synthesizer, and then that's when we bring in our cool tricks like our, you know? So it's just, I kind of go off of the vibes of what's happening around me and see what's missing and try to put it in a puzzle.
How about you, Ari? How do you sort of fit in?
I say, you gotta wait for everybody else. Like, I feel like guitar players, like our job is just to get in where you fit in. And you gotta wait. And then they'll say something like, well, do you have anything that sounds weird? And you just gotta look through your shit like, well, damn, what sounds weird? And you find like, is that okay? And then you just adjust as you go. But, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you guys are in the studio, like, I'm really curious to know, like, especially in working with like the biggest acts on the planet, what is that mix that got you into those rooms and onto those stages? Like the combination of playing your instrument, having a work ethic, maybe some luck, meeting the right people. Can you take us back to the moment where you sort of like, okay, this is it. I'm leveling up. I'm stepping up, and sort of set the scene for us as to what that was like for you?
I was just cool with playing in church and playing in the club and working my other 3 jobs. So I had 5 jobs when I was working back home. And I was content, like it was cool. And I would post these like little videos that people would take when we were playing in the club. And posted one, like I was standing on top of like a bar or something, just soloing, going off or whatever. A lot of my work came that way. And the first DM I got was from Parkwood. And I was like, what the fuck is that? What is a Parkwood? And come to find out, you know, it was Beyonce's camp. I thought it was a joke. And I didn't respond to the email, and thank God for family and friends checking my DMs for me because it was real. And that's when I was like, oh shit, I don't have to work anymore? Great. Flew to LA and I've been touring ever since.
Wow, that's crazy. So you almost just sort of left it in the inbox. So you were just out there sort of through these videos, and people became aware of you. And then almost sat in the inbox unanswered.
Yeah, answer your DMs and your emails, y'all. Some of them be real.
Wow, that's amazing. How about you, Rob? What was your transition like?
I moved here right out of high school. So that was great, but scary as hell at the same time. Me and that guy right there, literally. I want to say he's 3 years older than me. So by the time I had turned 18, I had bugged my mom, bugged his mom. Hey, auntie. I told him I was serious. Like, dude, I really think I want to go to LA. It was just a bunch of different musicians there that I really loved and I was inspired from. But also I knew him, which was a cool thing for me. I had someone that was tangible.
Yeah.
It was like around the time I came here, you were either going to Berkeley or you were just coming out here. My mom didn't want me to do neither. She was like, if you go to LA, you're going to Musicians Institute. I was like, well, fine, put me in Musicians Institute. And so then I got here, I went to Musicians Institute for like 2 months. I landed a tour that came through there. It was a residency gig, and it ended up going left. And then long story short, this guy calls me one random day and was like, you might get hit up for Kendrick, but you didn't hear it from me. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Literally 5 minutes later, I got a call from the music director like, yo, you got your guitar? You got your pedal, young blood? Pull up. And I was like, whoa, like, it just happens like that. Literally, I came in, I had been kind of listening to the rehearsals he would be playing in the room, and I don't know how I got so lucky, but when I went in, they were going over These Walls, which is a very popular Kendrick song. It was like 3 or 4 of them that I knew from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. And when he brought that up, I was like, oh yeah, let's go. I've been waiting on that one, you know? And ever since then, it's just kind of been like, just more blessings that seem to come from, you know, those type of beginnings, you know?
That's cool. So for those of us that like, we're just imagining from the outside what it's like to like be in a rehearsal like that or be in the studio or even just like collabing with the gang here. What's the process like? What would we be surprised about? And how is it like, you know, sort of working on these sort of very high profile projects? What is the day-to-day kind of like?
Hurry up and wait. Yes. Literally. I mean, honestly, and I'll let you chime in, but I don't think as far as what we do, the work is not always the hardest. It's really the balancing your actual life and like maintaining home life from work life, from family life, from, you know, I think that's the biggest thing where I kind of had to learn where to like, you know, balance that stuff out so you can be healthy, you know?
Yeah, definitely same, like balancing, you know, your life and when you're on the road and you're playing the same show over and over again and you're not, I mean, you're working on stuff for the show, but it's like, well, dang, like there's something I really wanted to do, you know, but sometimes you may not have time. Like, you know, I want to watch this YouTube video and do this, but it's like, no, I need to get this for rehearsal tomorrow. I think people would be surprised to see like everybody, in my experience, 90% of the time they're hilarious, and maybe it's just the delusion of being in 14-hour rehearsals and our minds are gone, but everybody's super duper funny, everybody's super duper nice, and it just feels nice that a majority of the time it's everybody working together trying to get this thing done.
Yeah, that's cool. And is that like, is there like maybe like a set of attributes that maybe are common to the musicians that you work with, where you're like, this is what makes a good collaborator? Like, what would those attributes be?
Let me say, because this is our first time playing together, and he's amazing, okay? I be watching his videos all the time. But the trend that I've seen so far, because I've gotten to meet a lot of amazing players, and they're all just super duper nice, super duper open, like, okay, well, what do you think? Okay, well, how do you feel about this? Well, can we try this? And just being so open to trying things and not being stuck in like whatever they feel is right.
Nice. What do you think, Rob?
I think honestly, like even these guys up here, we know how to work hard, but we also know how to have a good time. You know, like she's seen it a little bit yesterday in rehearsal. Like we might have heated arguments in rehearsal, like, no, I said the 4, no, I said the 1. Well, let's see what sounds better. But I think it's more so coming out of love because we do care how we sound collectively. And it's nothing like having players with you who understands the concept, literally one band, one sound. If I sound good and they sound like hell, we lose. If all 4 of us sound good and she doesn't sound good, we lose. I will even take everybody equally sucking the same as opposed to like it being one person that's just because you can ultimately hear and see that. And I think for me, some of my favorite players, there's a certain level of honesty, attention to detail, humor, and just I feel like there's just a collective, like a collective sense of urgency about how we sound, you know? And I think that's what makes the great players for me.
In speaking to this collaboration, let's get into a third song. Are we changing guitars for this one too?
We are.
Yes.
We are.
We love guitar changes. We love many guitars. Okay, so song 3. What was the vibe that we're going for song 3?
We are doing the blues.
Classic.
Classic blues. Well, this blues is kind of like, who we dedicate this to? SRV, right?
Of course.
I say this is a Stevie Ray Vaughan type blues, but we got a super special treat for y'all on the back end. That's not blues. I don't even want to tell you what it is. I'm gonna just let you guys.
I think you let it be a surprise. I saw it in soundcheck, and it is awesome, and you guys are gonna love the surprise.
It's a totally different genre. So we wanted to just kind of like merge those two together just to kind of show some of the progression.
Cool. And so let's talk about the guitars that we chose for this song. What do we got and why?
I am using my Fender Custom Shop 61 reissue. I chose this guitar because, I mean, in general, I like warmer sounding guitars, but for blues, this guitar just, I don't know if it's the pickups, I don't know if it's just the feel that's been worn in over it. This is probably one of the longest guitars I had. This guitar was passed down to me from my grandfather before he passed.
Wow.
So, but this guitar is actually like a 1994 or a 1993. So it's kind of just got like some old spunk to it that's like really, really cool. And it bites too.
All right, Ari, and what's yours?
Back to the player. Honestly, when we were rehearsing this, like, I already had it in my hand, and I just kept thinking about all those videos where, and just in my experience, where everybody just always talks about the versatility. And when we first did this song, like, I was literally just thinking, okay, let's try it out. Let's see how versatile it is. And it ended up working out. I had no idea if it was or if it wasn't, but it did, as it always does. So, yeah. And playing that low end, I needed that again, so.
Nice. Okay, great. Let's get into it. right, let's give it up one more time for that song. That was a beautiful journey. I really love the turn that it took into that dub reggae feel. It was really good. We have to start at the beginning with that very Stevie sort of intro riff. So let's start with that tone first. Very cool. Let's make some noise for that. It sounds great. It looks like you're in position 4 here.
Yep.
And it looks also like we got a tube screamer on.
Oh yeah. You
It
know,
sounds
you,
like
you
very
know the
Stevie.
Stevie sound. Come on. Yeah, I just wanted to stay very authentic to him and what he was, and we know he owned position 4 to me, honestly.
Yeah.
So position 4 here, tube screamer there. Nothing too much crazy outside of that. Maybe some reverb here and there, but not much.
And there was a section too where all three, both guitars and bass, are all playing the riff, and it sounds very, very cool. Can we just hear all three together? Yep. It was just really, just the power of everybody in sync.
1, 2, 3.
Nice. I love that. Sometimes it's important for everybody to play in unison, right?
Isn't that what we said? We literally like unison, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And I also love, I mean, this is the thing that I love, like, you know, like you're watching a show and you're like, turn the kick drum up. I love watching the band talk to each other on the stage. To me, it's like the coolest thing. It's like, I know what they're saying. They're saying, don't forget to do the thing, right? Like,
oh, man. I pray no one ever gets to hear our talkback mics.
Oh my God. It'd be wild over there.
Woo, that's a crazy game. I said they should have a TV show where they just show the talkback mics from all like the biggest shows all over the world. And this is funny because we really can't say what we want to say right now.
Oh my God.
Because we kind of got to have like professional, you know.
Yeah.
so on those big stages, everybody's wired into each other.
Oh,
Yes. Everybody.
You got to make sure things like the artist is not getting the band talk back.
Oh, yeah.
Because we might be like, what the hell was that she just saying? And you're like, oh my God, fire them. Are they talking about me as I'm performing? Like,
Yeah, this is the reality show.
oh yeah,
Yes.
real deal TV.
We'll call it Talk Back. It'll be Talk Back, and then we'll do an after show called Talk Back Live. It'll be great.
Let's do it.
You take this turn into the reggae with the one drop thing, and everything becomes spacey after that. Everything has this big sense of air around it. So when you're thinking in your mind, Stevie Ray Vaughan and blues, you don't think, let's take a turn right into this big open space of reggae. So how did that sort of happen?
Well, the other day when she came to the studio, we were listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, but on my way there, I was listening to Exodus by Bob Marley. And honestly, a lot of those lead lines that were played, the iconic lead lines that were played on that album is a Strat. Yeah. Even though he used the Gibson, his other guitarists used the Strat. And honestly, blues and reggae, they don't seem like you would put them together, but there are so many components that they share across the genres. And when we actually sat down and broke it, we were like, wait a minute, we could actually do this, you know? Like,
yeah, and especially when you got into the sort of like the outro leads with the wah, you know, all of a sudden it like really snaps into that like 70s reggae vibe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But before you got there, you were playing this like fat lead tone on the Stevie Ray part. Was that in position 4 or was that on the neck?
I stayed in 4 the whole time.
Nice. Can we hear a little bit of that?
So pretty much that is, not to be too technical, it's just overkill, man. When things feel good, you tend to kick stuff in. And when Stevie felt good, I don't know what the hell he was kicking in down there, but like everything just went up 20 dB. I still wanted my tone to kind of be clean, so I had the tube screamer on, but then I kicked in my Black OP distortion. Nice. So before that, it was right, and then I kick in that distortion. Now it's
I love it. The thing I love about it too is it doesn't jump into bright territory.
Oh, no.
It has this nice round attack to it, especially on those really, really high notes. Can we just hear something a little like 15, 18, somewhere up there?
Yeah, it's just like the...
Very good.
Yeah, it'll sing for sure.
It's cutting, but it doesn't hurt. Like it's perfect. It's awesome. So when we get into this reggae outro, there is this sort of the spacey dub element of it with the echoes and the wah. Can we hear a little bit of those tones?
Yeah. Hold on, let me change it to wah instead of volume. Hold on, that's what I was doing down here last time.
And we were kind of like complimenting each other. She would play delay and I'll play wah sometimes, or I would play delay and she play wah. It's just, it was really just a feel thing.
A lot of back and forth. It was fun.
This is probably relatable to all the guitarists out there. Do you remember the first time you got a delay pedal and the 15 hours you just spent playing it? Can you talk a little bit just about like your vibe on delays or how you feel about them? I'm obsessed with them and I own about 15 of them and I always want to keep buying more, but like what's your take on echo?
Honestly, I love it. Like if I go to a gig and I'm only able to select 4 pedals, it's for sure gonna be a delay down there. I think the thing that's been cool with me over time as I've been learning more about the more like technical side of like the fine tuning and the, dialing in the pedals, delays do more than I think what people would realize, or how they can shape the sound. So like even for me, where I put my delay in this chain is what made all the difference, It kind of takes you playing with pedals for a little while to kind of get that unique sound it is that you're looking for, The delay pedal was the first one that really made me sit down and be like, okay, no, where's the manual? Like, most times gearheads, we get stuff, we want to get it right out the box and just play. But because they can be so intricate, I think that was the first pedal that really made me like shaping and sharpen my sound, honestly.
How about you, Ari? What's your personal take on delay?
Oh, I get in trouble for that all the time. Still, like, between delay and reverb, like, my music director is always like, why is it so wet? Why y'all guitar players like it's so wet? And I'm just like, I can't help it. Between reverb and delay, like, it's just, I love it. But anyway, it was a journey, especially with a Kemper. Like, it's so many different delays in here, and there's so many things you could do with it. Like, you can even set the BPM in here, so your delay just, it matches whatever you're playing, like, perfectly. So... especially with this, it's really a journey and so many delays. It's a fun like little rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah. I mean, we all spend our time nerding out at some point. How do you avoid going down the gear rabbit hole when you're like, okay, we're in a session, we have a song to deliver, but there is this danger of like tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. How do you sort of steer yourself back away from that kind of thing?
Me personally, I still have trouble with that. Like, because it's only, like, I feel like over time, they're only giving us more tools to create with. So it makes it hard. Like, you got 15 delays. I probably got 30, all jokes aside. So it's like, I don't always know exactly what I want to use them for, but I do like getting the basis down of what it does. Therefore, I can know how to apply it in the song or in a space where I feel like it could be necessary. Sometimes it's just really trial and error.
How about you, Ari? Do you suffer from? We should mix it one more time. We could remix it. We should do this one more time.
Only if it's like for me. Like, you know how when it's like your own personal stuff, it's like, oh, let me do this, and all of a sudden you just way left. But when it comes to other people's stuff, I just ask, like, is this okay? And then if they say it's okay, then leave it alone.
Literally.
So with that last tune, you took us on a journey from like Texas to Jamaica, and you guys are no strangers to travel. Rob, I think you were in London 2 days ago, and then you rehearsed, and then you came here and did this. Ari, you're on the road all the time. How do you guys make that balance between being on the road, working, gigging, being in that sort of day-to-day cycle, and then sort of like stepping off that escalator for a little bit?
I still struggle with that because it's like on the road, like you have this routine of, okay, like do the show, pack up, go to the next city. God forbid you have a show the next day. You just going straight to the next arena. You don't get to see a hotel and you showering in arenas and stuff. It's just, you're constantly moving, flying, on the bus, packing, repacking. Then when you get home, oh my God, it's like vacation mode, but everybody else has to go to work and they're like working. So you're like, yeah, you wanna hang out, you wanna go to karaoke, you wanna go to brunch? And they're like, girl, I literally have to work. What do you? So it's difficult, like kind of like going back to just like having the free time to do whatever and realizing that, you know, people have lives and stuff to do.
Well, not me. I will go to karaoke anytime with anyone.
Oh, come on, let's go. What's your song?
I do You Can Call Me Al by Paul Simon.
Let's go. Mine is No Scrubs.
No, of course. That's a great, it crushes every time.
Yeah.
Rob, what's your karaoke song?
Ooh, I'm an old soul, so it's gonna be some Marvin Gaye. I'm gonna have to step with somebody to sing mine, you know?
Let's go.
Oh, man. How different is that for you, stepping up and being a lead singer as opposed to being a lead guitarist?
Ooh, yeah, I still got some practice.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, I think the biggest thing with me is I've been so used to just concentrating on the guitar and that part itself. And now it's like when you try to say anything, I can barely tell the in-ear monitor guy while I'm playing like, yo, turn Rico's kick up and play at the same time. Yeah. It gets hard. So to like sing a whole song, I got a different respect for those guys. Steve Lacy, Bob, Curtis Mayfield, like all those, even Stevie Ray Vaughan, those guys, I got a totally different respect for them.
That's cool.
I'll sing my ABCs though. You know, that's easy. We could do that.
Well, maybe we'll set up like a guitarioke where you just play the guitar parts instead
and somebody
of
else
doing
come
this,
sing.
the
That could be
vocals.
fun.
Yeah.
That could be cool.
I'm interested to know, when you're taking time away from touring or working on somebody else's projects, what is the type of vibe of the music that you're creating for yourself?
So I'm actually in a group called Lady. We all play, we all write, and this is my first time like being in that arena where I'm not just playing guitar from somebody like, oh, you actually have to do stuff. Like, oh, okay, I've never written before or anything like that, but it's mostly like R&B and, you know, us kind of like doing our own like twist on, you know, if Mint Condition were, you know, a bunch of, you know, girls, what would that be like? And making it modern. So it's been a journey and kind of fun, like seeing what it's like being in the studio and, you know, writing your own stuff. And we just started doing this stuff together 3 years ago, and you know the journey has been nice, like being a part of those sessions, like wow, like listening back, like we did this. Like I remember sitting on the floor for 6 hours like doing this with y'all, and it's amazing.
That's sort of like that personal pride. That's something that you birthed into the world that's totally different from the work that you do.
It's just so cool, like being a part and not just playing somebody's part, and that's cool too, like making somebody's dream come true and like really being able to get in on the story that they created, but to make your own, it's like, wow, y'all get to do this all the time. Like, where have I been?
How about you, Rob?
It's kind of like that same space for me. I don't know. I guess with me working on my own stuff right now, I pay attention to what moves me, you know, because it's like with me being able to play guitar, play bass, play drums, play keys a little bit, not as well as this guy, but I can get most of the ideas down that I want to do. So the biggest thing for me then is the idea itself. Yeah. And because I have to work demos or sketches for this artist, this person, this group, or this label, because I am a producer, when I'm alone, sometimes I make songs that have literally nothing to do with anything. Yeah. But it's just like, I felt like I needed to get that off. I probably won't have this time again anytime soon. So let me just go in for a day and just make all these songs. And even if I come back and clean them up later, I think I just kind of pay attention to like what moves me. You know, new guitars, new pedals, new sounds. Like I'll get a new keyboard and make 30 songs, you know? And I feel like it's worth it to me at that point, you know?
I mean, there is some kind of magic to getting a new piece of gear where
it
you're like,
is.
oh, look at all this
even
discovery.
a new old piece of gear, my 69, I've only had this maybe a year. But when I got it, I didn't play anything else for like 2 months, you know?
Yeah. How about you, Ari? What's the weirdest new instrument that you picked up? Or What's the weirdest thing that you're listening to that we would be surprised by?
Honestly, like, musicians, we be listening to everything, so nothing I listen to would be weird, but I'm, like, really a victim of, like, buying a whole bunch of stuff from those Instagram ads. And I saw, like, an ad where it's, like, a violin bow, and you can use it for your acoustic guitar, and I was like, yo, that's amazing. And, you know, I bought two, by accident, but you know, I'm not giving that up. And trying to use it, sounding like, you know, trying to figure it out. Like, I'm still trying to work it out, but it's been cool, like, watching the videos of people who can do it right and, you know, thinking about the possibilities and trying to figure out, okay, how am I gonna use this on tour? I think I'll be cool with that. Like, yeah, but that's the latest one, whatever this guitar bow thing is.
Nice, that's awesome. Rod, have you bought any Instagram guitar gadgets lately?
No, I haven't bought any Instagram. Thank God. I got out of that headlock a long time ago. I used to have so much stupid stuff, guitar, lighters, and all type of different things. But I think one piece of gear that I've acquired recently that I really, really like is this old Roland. I can't even say I've acquired it. I've had it. I just sent it here from Chicago. It was like, you know how you have that old tote that you leave at mom's house and you move out and you come back 5 years, like your little sister got on some of the shirts. Yeah. And it's like, where are my pedals? Where are my chords at? And I found this old Roland VG processor that I used to use back in the day. And it has the 13-pin plug, and I've been making a lot of records with that.
That's really cool.
And it's cool because it's not new. It's not the oldest. It's like from early 2000s, but I think like you can even get them still for like $200-$300 right now. But it is a wall of sound that's unlike anything else.
And that's on those lines of like, it's a guitar. It doesn't sound like at all like a guitar.
And I love it. I think that's just my thing.
Nice. Okay, well listen, we are gonna do one more song. Are we doing new guitars for a new song?
You know we are.
Yes. Yeah. We love new guitars.
That's fun.
Did you guys call each other and coordinate outfits?
It's cute, right?
It's awesome.
We actually did, and I like that. We just in sync, you know?
For our fourth song, we have a gorgeous matching set of guitars here. So what are we working with?
This is a Fender Custom Shop, heavy worn. This is like, I think this is a 59 reissue. I'm sorry, I've had this guitar for a long time, but I really love this guitar because of the pickups. The pickups are like some special version of our Nico. Mm-hmm. I feel like Fender only did them in this guitar.
Nice.
Because this guitar, it wasn't like a one-on-one custom shop. It came out, but it was only in this melon color and like a blue color. But I have yet to see these pickups in anything else.
Cool.
It's just a vibe all the way around.
And so, controversial topic, the pre-worn guitar. Does anybody have any feelings about a pre-worn guitar in the comments section that they want to drop? How do you feel about it?
I used to feel a way about them because I like the real thing. Like, if you're going to give me a worn guitar, I want it because it's worn, because it's old, you know? But as I started to get more into the roll worn and like the lightly worn and the heavy worn, I think, again, it's just that aesthetic that it adds for me. Like, just looking at it, even though I know this guitar is from like 2019, 2020, it still feels like it's just old as hell. And it's super
feel.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I got like a little, like, see, my neck is kind of, it's like the finish is shaved on the back from like, I would say the 2nd fret to about the 13th or 14th. So it's a little dry there. But on the front, as you can see, it only wears in the first like 5-6 frets. So it's like, that's a cool little custom shop perk that cool. I really like, you know.
Nice. All right, Ari, what's your Strat?
So this is one of my favorite Strats. I'm playing an Elite, and obviously the first thing that attracted me to it is the color. I love maple necks. I don't know what it is about them, but just moving around like butter, like, it's so easy. Has some noiseless pickups on here, which is always amazing. And like, it just fits my hands perfectly, and I was using this for a long time on the road, and this is my go-to when I'm at home.
Nice. Our fourth song, what's our vibe?
With this last vibe, we said, how can we show Nile Rodgers and just how that tone really, really affected pop, like in the late 70s / throughout the 80s. We got different elements that come into the game, such as the chorus pedal.
Cool.
You'll be hearing some of that. You'll be hearing like some of those like Dimension C type
very cool.
80s modulation / delay sounds. And also the biggest thing to note for this song, I think, would be the playing itself, right?
Yeah.
Just because now wasn't the most technical guy when it came to effects. He was technical here in his picking and just how he decided to make his left and right hand work together.
That's a real interesting thing to think about. I think maybe with your history as a drummer, you're probably like already used to counting stuff. Guitar players, it's sort of like your right hand is the metronome, it is the drummer. How did you develop your right hand?
You said it for me, drums. I'm a drummer, so it's like I think that ended up being a perk with me with playing guitar because I can be so percussive, but it's like I'm literally just playing drums.
Yeah.
Like, you know, guitars and hi-hats go together to me, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
how about you, Ari?
I learned that very recently. I feel like for a long time I was one of those guitar players where, you know, guitar players, they just be in their own world. They be loud as hell, you know, turn the amp up, doing all this stuff, and just be in their own world instead of really like listening.
Yeah.
And while I was on the road, our drummer for SZA, Paige, you know, he told me, he was like, you know, you don't be listening to me anyway. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, and he said it a couple of times, and it wasn't until like I was listening to some of our rehearsals, I was like, wow, I really don't be listening. So started turning him up more, and it helps so much, especially with more rhythmic stuff, because it's like he's doing some cool stuff. I could have been doing that instead of, you know, wrecking my brain trying to figure out what am I going to do. Just listen to him.
Yeah.
So it's definitely been more recent, but it's been very, very helpful.
Very cool. That's a lesson for the kids out there. Always listen to your drummer.
Always.
All right, so let's get into it. energy in the track. Everybody, make some noise for that. That was awesome. So you came in hot with the rhythm, and we heard the guitar sort of behaving like a shaker or a hi-hat. That was like a really cool thing to see, and it was cool to see the two rhythm parts working together, not doing the same thing. So can you guys can we hear the individual parts, and then can we hear them both together? I mean, it just feels good. It's awesome. How do you think about the guitar in sort of like the two different realms of like, okay, this is gonna be my cute little hooky lead thing that's gonna be stuck in my head hours later, and then that ascending run of chords, that was really cool because like after the first intro, you hear this ascending run of chords. It like took you on this like melodic journey. So like, how did you guys put that all together?
I think honestly, it's just paying homage for real.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to now, that was kind of like especially in the beginning, like there's pictures of now where like all his skin is gone on the index finger, the middle finger, like, cause that's just him. He just digs, you know. He did something cool with those double layered guitar parts. You know, at that time you have what we call overdubbing, where you can lay one guitar part, but then go back in the studio and lay another one. If I'm down here in the chord range, if she does the same thing, now we're just heavy. You know, it's just super heavy. But if I'm playing chords and then she's up, or she doesn't even have to be up in the register or the octave, but just like another part that goes against that. You know what I'm saying? And she's kind of playing off player part. You know, she's straight. And so I would go against it, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. It's got this great push and pull to it.
Yeah, it's like they kind of pull each other together.
Yeah.
And that's cool. If you laid it out on a grid and you were just counting on a metronome, they're all beats there, but it's like what you're leaving out is what's really cool.
And like dynamics and how you hit the strings, you know, that all plays a part into it as well.
That's really cool. I was also noticing, what was I noticing? Oh, when you cut to that lead, you had that bright cutting lead tone.
Oh, yeah.
And you flipped it down to the bridge. So can we hear a little bit of that? Yeah.
So it's literally, I just put on the black OP again and a flanger.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay, cool, yeah. And then, Ari, you have a lead that's similar to that later on in the track, too.
Yeah, but this is like, okay, so this lead that I have in here, I use it for everything. Like, literally. Like, on the road, like, this is my go-to. I've used this same patch for, God, I think it's been like maybe a year and a half, 2 years now, but it's just so reliable. Like, it's my favorite.
And it just stands out. It's like the whole mix is going on and everything stands out. What's cool too, one thing I was noticing is we were hearing big keys.
Oh yeah.
And that scooped guitar tone makes so much room for keys. That way, everybody can sort of like fit into the mix. Can I hear a little bit of those layered key parts with the rhythm guitar parts?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that's it. You know, it's one of those things that everybody has to sort of navigate is like, where am I going to sit on these frequency spectrums in a mix? So can you guys talk a little bit about like what you have found, maybe some advice for us, what you have found to really work well for like assigning places in frequency spectrums per instrument?
Me personally, I think it's just communication.
I
like
agree.
we said, that's even with this song. I literally said, "Oh, what are you playing?" Like, because I know for this type of vibe, we wanted to emulate like now/80s, which is pop essentially, you know, and those sounds, those synths. In order, I feel like for those to be the most effective, it's like you have to create a space to where they're not clashing.
Yeah,
that's why I felt like even the guitar parts that me and her picked. It just, everything works together and nothing is like really fighting each other.
Yeah.
And he's a hell of a keyboard player. He's a band by himself. So even in rehearsal, we had to tell him like, oh, maybe pull back one of your 13 guys you got in that keyboard. Like sit one of them down. Like, cause he can make these two keyboards literally sound like 4 people.
Yes.
It's insane, literally. But I'm not scared of that either. I love it. It's just knowing where to put it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, having 13 voices inside of a key, it can be sort of intimidating.
And he knows how to find the voices that they don't tell you about. Like, it's crazy, man.
But they're all living in a mid-range world, but they got their own little niche, their own little place to live.
Yeah, and it's like nothing is really playing the same exact part either. You know, even the way my voicings align with his chord voicings and how that aligns with her guitar part is just like space for everybody.
Yeah. So the space.
Space.
Yes.
Very important.
We never like to play on top of each other in any way, shape, or form. Even what Rico's doing, if you notice, outside of what we're doing, there's a certain lot going on between him and those two that literally does nothing but allows us to win because of the space that they're creating back there, even with him having these big keyboard sounds, you know?
Until unison. Let's do it all together on purpose.
Oh, yeah. At the end.
Let's do it. Let's get everybody in on the unison part. That's great. That's really teamwork making the dream work right there.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
We've heard 4 amazing tunes from you guys today. We've heard really, really great tones. We've heard sort of a look backwards at things that have existed for the Strat, sounds that we have heard before. But I'm curious, like, where do you maybe see the future of the Stratocaster? Where do you maybe see the future of guitar going? And what do you think maybe 10 years or 30 years, what might being a guitar player look like?
Well, they're going to have a lot of gadgets and gadgets.
I was just about to say that. It's going to be crazy.
If it keeps at the rate that it's at now, it's going to be a lot of, like, I feel like there's going to be more technical edition, right?
Yeah,
like
you're
I think
gonna
it's
have
I don't
shit
think
now.
it's gonna be the guitar changing for a while. I think it's gonna be the tools they give us to use it with, you know. If they do want to help us, guys at Fender, you can make these lighter For sure. Make your guitars lighter for us, everybody.
So there's a very light future for the guitar.
I hope
Hopefully.
Yeah.
so. Some weight relief.
Yeah.
That's what I like to
Yes.
say. Well, hopefully there's some weight relief in the future.
Ari, do you think you would ever get into the gadget game and maybe try to run some Instagram ads? Like, would you ever want to invent your own gear? Like, you don't have to reveal any like cool secrets right now, but like, is there anything out there that you're like, in the future, there will be this and it will solve this problem for me?
I try different things and I see like a lot of cool stuff, but I am a huge fan also of Eric Clapton, and I like how it's just simple. It's just him, his guitar, and amp, and maybe like a few things, but it's simple. And I as much as things are going to change, that's good, it's going to change. We'll probably have like a whole bunch of digital stuff on our guitars, and you know, like they'll try to do crazy stuff, but I prefer simplicity.
Yeah. So you're seeing, yeah, there'll be a bunch of future stuff, but like
Yeah, I'm not going to be in on
the
that.
Fender Stratocaster will still do what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, that's cool. And then in terms of like the broader industry or music in general, what kind of predictions do you have for like where that might end up going?
Sampling samples of samples.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already doing it, and I mean, it's kind of cool, like, watching that, but it's also kind of like, damn, where you at? Like, it'd be cool to hear, you know, more of a lot of the artists who are really, like, putting their foot on people's necks, like Hiatus Coyote and their new album, and just being so creative and new. But, I mean, the sampling stuff is cool, but I just see more, like, sampling samples and stuff like that.
So less sort of trying to recreate something, you'd like to see more like, here's my brand new thing nobody's ever
it
seen
came
before.
straight off the dome. Like, that came from your brain?
What do you think, Rob? Is that what you want to see from the future of music?
Yeah, I mean, music is already scary right now to me because of AI, just
Yeah.
being honest. And I mean, it is what you make it. Like, it's got, when I look at it from some perspectives, it's beautiful. But then when I look at it on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, what the hell? Like, this is literally a robot. You can't even tell me how you made this, you know? It's gonna be very, very imperative for players like myself, like Ari, these guys up here, to really just keep the tradition of what we're doing right now alive. Again, I don't have anything against the whole AI thing, but I do feel like it's going to heavily affect music very deeply in the next 5 to 10 years, and I think we can't forget the original thing, you know? We can't forget I feel like we can't forget where we are even feeding the AI these samples and these songs from, you know? Because I think collectively we still got a lot of brilliance going on in our minds, but I think sometimes we get intimidated by all this stuff that's out and that's around us. And I just try to tell people, like, to remain yourself. I think that's how we get the best possible product from everybody as a whole, you know?
Nice. Very cool. Yes. Give that a round of applause. All right, so this is the one. This is for the kids at home. They're looking up to you.
Okay.
You've got the gig. You're traveling the world. You're playing the Super Bowl. You're playing Coachella. You're doing the job. Music is your trade. It is your craft. What advice do you have for the kids who are watching at home right now who are like, that's where I want to be. I want to get there, and I want to do that?
Well, me personally, brush your teeth, comb your hair, save your money, read your books, pay attention in school, because you're gonna get to where you wanna go. But when you get there, don't lose your passion. Don't lose that fire that you have. That's like for me, firsthand, when I started working and I was like taking multiple gigs and I was bouncing back and forth. We all love to do that. It's good. Like, you're making money, you're gig hopping, but after a while, you get this feeling where you kind of become a robot. It's like you're just doing the same thing, but you got to keep that passion, you got to keep that motivation, and you got to stay professional. You know, that's the main thing, I would say.
I would just say it's scary, and it's not always going to be up. And you can be at the top of the top doing amazing things, but there are just some seasons where it may not be your season, but you just got to keep going. And it's a lot of scary situations, a lot of things that you won't know, a lot of things that you're scared to do, but just do it anyway. and know that it's gonna be okay. The best thing you can do is fail, because it gives you that fire to like, okay, I failed this time, but I'm gonna work this so much so the next time you see me, I'm gonna be amazing. So just keep going. It's scary, but it's gonna be okay.
Nice. Very good. I think that is a beautiful sentiment to go out on. Thank you guys, all of you, for being here today. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Ari. Everybody make some noise for Rob, Ari, Rico, O, and Simba. We're gonna open it up now to the Q&A from the audience. I'll run the mic around to whoever wants to ask a question, and they are yours now. Who's got a question?
What was your favorite gig and why? Or what was the most meaningful gig to you?
I think the most meaningful one, and this one is gonna be like, you know, everybody's gonna say this, but Beyonce, and it's only because like, I really did not think that I would be touring. Like, I was totally fine with just being at home, and to get this opportunity to do Coachella was somebody I've admired. I remember buying those records and listening to Destiny's Child, and you know, I'm on stage on my solos and dropping down and flipping my hair. I'm like, okay, I'm Beyonce right now. Beyonce playing guitar, and to actually get up there and work with her and see how hard she works, and it made me want to work even harder, and to know that my family and friends were, you know, they got to see me on this big stage. You know, it was like, man, okay, I can go home and just go back to playing in the club and church now. I'll be cool. But it was something I'll never forget, seeing all those people out there and really thinking like, wow, I was just at church in DC doing my own thing, and now I'm here, and I'm just super duper grateful.
Questions? Oh, right here.
This is kind of a two-part question. First of all, could we see a talkback mic? Like, if you're performing, like, where would it be at? Like, is it an earpiece or what?
It's usually the mic that's right in front of us. Like, sometimes if you see us performing, you may think that a guitar player is like singing background or something with that mic, but that's not an actual vocal mic. That's the talkback mic. And it's usually cued up by a switch. Like, we have a switch on the floor and you press it, and then the mic is active, and when you let it go, and then it's off.
Okay. And this is for anyone. Does anyone have like a funny story from like the talkback mics you could tell us?
Oh, bro, what? Do we? Bro, I was out on tour. I think I was with Usher. I love you, Usher. But like literally, we were doing like 3-4 weeks of rehearsal like every day, like Monday through Sunday. So everybody's tired. And he jacked up the words to something so bad, but we didn't know we were in his ears. We didn't know we were in his ears. So when he got to the chorus of the song, somebody was like, well, this is not the chorus. What the hell are we doing now? And he literally turned around and was like, I know it's not, but damn, can y'all work with me? And it was just like, we all looked at the front of house / sound guy engineer like you almost cost everybody our jobs. Like, and the cool thing was Usher didn't even know who said it. It was just like, we got yelled at collectively. He just turned around out his move like, I know, okay? Like, so yeah, I mean, definitely be careful of the talkbacks.
Yes. Oh my God.
I know you got some talkback stories.
Oh yeah. So a lot of musicians, of course, they play in church before they start doing all this kind of stuff. So any song, any R&B song, it can be about anything. Think of the raunchiest thing, and they'll make it a gospel song in your ears. Like literally hearing somebody go, somebody give him a high praise. And it's like, we're singing about shaking ass in the club. All right. And then we like, shake that ass for Jesus. And it's like, you kind of sit there and focus and play. But they're saying the craziest stuff. It's so funny.
Okay, who's up next?
Basically just recognize what you were saying earlier about when your dream began, when you left and moved to LA, or putting your videos and working 5 jobs. One thing that's beautiful about you all being up here, and I hope everybody can leave here and remember, is that music unites. And all of us here, all different races, how in the end, like he said, never lose your passion. And I just thank you all for taking time. It's been beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
That is beautiful. All right, so let's give it up for Rob, Ari, O, Rico, and Simba. One more time. Thank you guys so much. Very, very good.